Are we live? Yeah, we are. Oh man. Okay, everybody. Well, welcome back to the Turnout. I am your host, Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when we put out a new video. I apologize for being a little bit late on this one. Obviously, it's Wednesday, and the thing, like, it comes on Fridays now. What the hell? Well, in short, we have a lot of kind of hectic things happening over here in my real life, my IRL. Won't go too deep into them, but the combination of those things, plus Father's Day and a bunch of other things, that kept it from being a thing where I was able to jump on here any sooner than today. But I have to say, we're going into episode 15. That means we only have 3 more episodes left, which means, we have quite a bit to really kind of, I think I'd said this in the last video where I was like, wow, I really am excited to see what they end up doing with these last 4 episodes, because they essentially have to bring in a brand new bad guy and, all of that stuff to kind of wrap up the season. So I am going to, again, like I normally do, hello to Marvel and DC Fan Diversity Productions and Xavier, you 3. You were the 3 who are here currently. We usually end up having a lot more people show up as we go, but hello to everybody who is here. But the name of this episode was Schrodinger's Future, which I thought was a little odd, because the if you don't know the actual thing, it's a theoretical, it's like a thing. Essentially, if there's a cat in a box, then that cat is in a perpetual state of both being alive and dead, because the probability of it being alive and dead is pretty much equal when you and it only decides what ends up happening when you open that box, and then reality then sets itself into place, and then you either know whether it's either 100% it's dead or 100% it's alive at that point. So honestly, just going into this episode, I thought it was an odd title for the episode. Because that's kind of what the future always is in TV shows and whatnot. It's like it's this thing that even if you jump to it, you could always do something in the past that would stop it from happening. So I guess all of the future is basically up for debate, and you don't know what it is until you actually get to it. So it's a little odd that this is the title. And I want to say right up front, I'm still not convinced that I know it still seems weird, but I said it in the last episode, but going into this episode, I'm like totally expecting to get some more information on this baby. And I am still not 100% convinced that the baby isn't evil, but I think that when I actually watched the episode, it made a little bit more sense, and it was like, okay, well, I guess it's not, but still not 100% convinced. I'm like 80% convinced that the baby isn't evil. So we start off, it's weird. Okay, so I guess I'm going to start it off here. I could just go scene for scene. I'm going to say that there are 3 storylines going on here, but really only one of them is good. Only one of them is really necessary. So Maggie gets a vision about the future and is like, there's something crazy that's going to happen in the future, and if we don't go now, then there's not going to be a future. And I'm like, okay, all right, this is interesting. I like this. Macy and Harry, they're like, getting closer, and they're doing runnings, and they're like still spending time together, even though they still can't touch, and it's nice. And Mel is not very good at meditating. And we can tell that, being a mom newly is kind of taking its toll on her. So not really much to say more than that really about her. And then Celeste is there as well, kind of trying to help Harry through his thing. So the 3 storylines are that because Mel can't go to the future, her future self brought the baby back into the past to save it. So just going back into the future, that would be like, oh, wow, just undo everything that just undo everything your future self did. So they're like, okay, cool. So then Maggie and Macy will go to the future. Mel is going to stay back and try and figure out, because there's usually side effects when you do time travel. So she's like, okay, well, I'll make the potion that will de-age you when you come back, just in case you have to stay longer than 30 minutes. Okay, cool. Ruby ends up coming and helping with that. And then the third storyline is that Harry starts kind of going through the entirety of like aging. So he's because the part of the soul that is helping him with becoming mortal was that of little Georgie. They it is basically bounced him back to being a kid. So throughout the episode, and I can pretty much sum up his part, throughout the episode, him and Celeste, like, you know, he's progressing in age. So he starts off like, ooh, I'm mischievous and young. And then he starts getting like to teenage years and he's like, who cares what you have to say? And then he gets a little bit older and he's just like, oh, I'm sorry about all that stuff that happened. So, I mean, that's basically his storyline. I will say though that like immediately, like at the very beginning, Celeste like fainted, like she was like kind of got a little bit dizzy trying to go up the stairs, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So Celeste is gonna be dead soon, because that's how shows work. They don't show anybody with any moments of weakness unless it's a foreshadowing of something else. So both of them were kind of feeling their ages in this episode. Harry, of course, kind of launching back into being a kid and like really feeling his age, but Celeste also feeling her age because she had to give up her immortality for them to go back into for them to go into the future at the end of the second season, or I guess at the beginning of the third season. You know what I mean. So she had to give up her immortality. Yeah. She had to give up her immortality for them to do that. So she's been aging. I don't know if you've noticed, but last time I think she was on the show, she had like, you know, she had like reddish hair, and then she had like reddish blondish whitish hair, and now she's just got straight white hair. So she's definitely going to be gone here soon, I would assume, more than likely, since Mel is said that she's going to get her time powers back. It will more than likely have something to do with this watch. When Celeste dies, like she bequeaths time stuff to her or something like that. That would be my guess, but I mean, who really knows at this point? Welcome to the few other people who are popping in here. All right, so I mean, and honestly, so that's like Celeste and Harry. Like Harry's like a little bit annoying, and you know, that's just how that is until he gets later. But really, like honestly, their storyline wasn't that important. Now, Mel and Ruby, because Ruby shows up, that storyline is also just like it's a little bit unnecessary. I hate to say it, but and I'll talk about it a little bit. But what ends up happening is the real storyline is that Mel and Maggie and Macy go to the future, and there's a lot of like high stakes things happening there, lots of danger, craziness happening there. And what they're doing though is they're bouncing from life or death in the future, the world is ending, to I'm grumpy because I'm pregnant, and then it would bounce back to craziness in the future and world changing things, and then go to Harry's being silly. So it was a little odd, just with the pacing. And I've noticed already a few of you in the chat are like, this episode was kind of a chaotic and it was kind of everywhere, and that's what it was. That's what you were feeling. You were feeling the fact that every time there was maybe a little bit of tension, they would immediately go, and then they would like shoot it to the other side and be like, but no, but laugh at this, or feel nice and happy about, you know, oh, they get to touch and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, but like go back to where the action is happening. Like that's some good stuff that's happening there. Stop cutting away from it. So that's kind of how I felt watching the episode. So let's go through it. Let's see. So Celeste says that I thought this was weird. Celeste said, like, you shouldn't even be running. You don't even know what the side effects are, which is, I think, part of the development in this episode, I guess. Basically, this episode was to give Celeste a reason to leave, but she was being a helicopter parent, and she wasn't allowing Harry to do things without her basically griping at him, like, you don't know what the side effects will be. And, you know, I was like, okay, that's fine. Again, it was a little bit meh. So Maggie touches a picture of the three sisters, and she gets a she gets a vision of like a shadowy figure, and it looked like with like maybe metallic armbands or something. But and then I saw either dreads or braids, and I was just like, okay, that's interesting. And I was like, oh, I wonder who that could be. It was tall, so I honestly I thought it was going to be Maggie. But then I was like, oh, I don't know, it's a little bit tall for Maggie. I don't know, we'll see. Hello to Davian, who is here as well. All right, so oh, also, I don't maybe understand the whole your powers won't work in the future. I think that that's pretty I don't know, it feels like it's an unnatural limitation. Like your powers don't work because your temporal code like doesn't fit together. It's like you don't exist in the future, so you don't have powers. It was I don't know. I really thought that I understand why they did it, because if they had powers, they might have not had any clashing here and much tension. But still, I think they probably could have had some powers. So I'm just saying. Also, they introduced those the earbugs, which I remember when they originally introduced that was at the beginning of the season. They introduced the earbugs, and I remember like they introduced them, and then they were in the show for like 2 minutes, and then they were gone. And I was like, that was the dumbest. Why did you even bother introducing those? And it was because it was going to come back at the end of the season, and here it is now. So I was like, okay, that was a good callback. I like that they're bringing out the bugs. I thought that was really, really good. So they go to 2026, so 2 years into the future. Wait, I'm stupid. 5 years into the future. They find the ritual circle where they think Mel did the spell to bring the baby. And then Macy runs off, and they're like, oh no, the future's been canceled. Everybody's gone. And I was like, okay, it's pandemic. So I'm sure they're still getting used to bringing people back in. So then, yeah, and then like, again, there's like little things like Harry grabs one of the bugs and tries to listen in on it, and blah blah blah. And it was just like, bleh. But there was a really nice scene where, after they see like the world is ended and all that stuff, Macy goes over and hugs Maggie, and they have like a nice like sisterly moment. And she's like, "No powers, I assume no powers, no allergies." So yeah, it was a nice moment actually. I really liked that. And might as well take advantage anytime that you can touch the other person, since that's been a thing that they have not been able to do all freaking season. So there's that. I also want to point out, and maybe this was something, maybe somebody could explain it in the chat. But I understand like the degradation, the degeneration of the materials in safe space. I understand like all of the destruction and the broken things. I don't think I understand why there was just large pieces of plastic just draped over everywhere. Like it made it seem more like it was under construction than that it has been destroyed and we're in like a post-apocalyptic thing, and where this is kind of a dystopia. It was just drapes, like large tarps everywhere, just draped over the stairs and over the balcony and stuff. And I'm like, that to me makes it feel like it's under construction and not like it is the end of the world. So I don't know who the set designer is, but this is just me pointing out that me as a viewer, I'm like, why is there so much plastic everywhere? Like it didn't really make much sense to me. Moving on, Abby shows up. Abby from the future. She shows up and she says, yeah, like, Maggie, you're dead in the future. And she says, yeah, and I killed you, Maggie, because you were infected by something called the Whispering Evil. So new bad guy. Okay. And I think this is actually, to give the writers credit, this is actually quite a cool way to introduce a new bad guy just kind of out of the blue. That's only going to be around for 4 episodes, but it was a cool way, honestly, to introduce it, because it came in and kills Abby. So but the cool thing about Abby, though, is that she was kind of like drunk, like she was drinking and whatnot. and she seemed like she was probably a hero. Like, she didn't like see Macy and like, let me make snide comments or anything. Like, she seemed like she was like in survival mode, and she explains that like the Whispering Evil's basically taken over everybody and can infect you. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. But then yeah, like, she's not being secretive or coy or anything. But yeah, she's killed by this weird, creature that we did not actually see. And as they're running away, and I'm sure anybody who watches my channel would probably picked up on this too, but as they were running away, Maggie says, "I can't believe that we just saw Abby get vanquished." And that is my problem with the term vanquishing. So I did a whole video, please go watch it, it's about ethics and Charmed. But vanquishing is the term that the witches, the council and all that stuff used to use for, getting rid of a demon. And it usually involved a spell that would like disintegrate them, or, it would do something that would not just leave a bloody body behind. Like, that's not vanquishing. That's Abby getting killed. Um, and then again, I guess it is kind of vanquishing, because vanquishing is just killing under a fancy title. But it just seems so weird that they were like, I didn't think that we would ever see, it was so weird. We just saw Abby get vanquished. It's like, no, they just killed. Like, when you vanquish a demon, it goes and then it's gone, and that's vanquished. So yeah, I thought that line, anytime that they talk about vanquishing, it's going to get on my nerves. But that line, I really didn't like that. And moving on. So they had 19 minutes left, and they're like, okay, cool. Then we need to find more information about the cure that Mel was working on. Then they cut back to Mel, and it's like, oh, I'm pregnant, so, I'm going to distract from the tension that's building in the episode. And I was like, it's dumb. So, and also, Ruby is giving up on basically being against magic. And it's weird. It's kind of instantaneous, because earlier on in the episode, like, Mel's like, well, I guess I'll see you later. And she's like, well, why? And she's like, oh, because I'm going to be doing some magic, so I know you don't want to be dealing with that. But Ruby's like, I mean, I could probably stick around, or, whatever, and help out at least, but it turned into Mel was trying to I think Mel was like, she was in her pregnancy, so she was snappy, and she was self-conscious and taking things to heart a lot. And I think Ruby honestly stuck around because she didn't want to be pushed away by those things, but by sticking around, she got lured into doing magic. And it seems like, at the end, it seems like she was kind of happy with that decision. And honestly, not doing magic was just probably her. I feel like not doing magic, if you're a witch, is just you trying to deny that part of yourself. So I would say that it's a good thing that she started doing magic again. But I don't know if I necessarily like the way that it was written into the show, where, she, again, it seemed like she was almost like she was in a stuck situation. If she left because she didn't want to do magic, then Mel was going to think she's leaving me because I'm pregnant now. But then if she stays, then now she's getting sucked into doing magic, which is not what she wanted to do. So I wish that there maybe was a little bit more agency, and not just her jumping in and just ignoring the fact that she has up to this point said she never wants to do any magic, and instead, like, maybe have her say like, hey, I see here what's happening. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in and I'm going to help you with magic this time. But I just want to let you know I'm not going to help out in the future because I really don't want to be around the magic. But then, like, at least do that. And then after she does the magic, then you can be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I was really scared to do it. And honestly, seeing it now, it's not that bad. I don't know. It feels like she was just kind of guilted into doing it. And that could just be the way that I was viewing it. That was just how I looked at it. It seemed like she was more guilted into jumping in to help with the magic instead of it really being something that she wanted to do. That's just me. So, so then they find evidence. They find like this big, like, clipboard, like, the board that they have at the command center, that's got all the evidence and pictures and arrows and threads and links and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool that they had that. And one of the things is that the symbol from the Tomb of Chaos is popping up on all of the dead bodies after they died, because they actually said post-mortem. So the thing dies, people have been dying, and then the symbol pops up on their skin. So that's an indication that something from the Tomb of Chaos is what's dealing with this. Now, then they're like, oh no, the Perfecti said you shouldn't seal us away because you need us to fight this next big bad thing that's coming. So now we're seeing that this future is because of the fact that they sealed the Perfecti away into the Tomb of Chaos. And as I said in the last episode, not all of the big bad demons from the tomb were put away before they sealed it. So this is one of those, is my guess. The problem with this is, again, if you're trying to kill me, then when I stop you from killing me and put you away so that you can stop trying to kill me, you can't then say, well, don't put us away, though, because you need us to fight the next thing that's coming. And it's just like, yeah, but you're trying to kill me. If I don't put you away, then you try and kill me too, and then I have to fight two things. So really, again, the whole like, you need us to defeat the thing. Like, no, that's stupid. No. I don't need somebody trying to kill me to not be killed by the other thing that also will try to kill me. Anyway, Ruby makes an acceleration potion, and that helps them make more of the potion. Mel uses her power to keep the cauldron hot, and I'm like, just make a fire. I don't know. I think that what they were trying to do, I think that they've been listening to you guys and like, hey, we need more of them using their powers. And it's just like, cool, then she can use her powers to heat a cauldron. And I'm just like, no, I want them to have like cool, interesting uses of their powers. Not just any old thing. But they do the next thing. So basically the watch gets broken. So they contact Celeste using the bug things, and they say, hey, can we fix it? And she goes, no, but I can leave another thing here in the command center, and then we just won't touch it for 5 years and it'll be there. So grab it. And they're like, well, we're not here. So they go to the mall, and then that means that Harry has to run to the mall and put it in a place. They ends up putting it like in a brick wall in like a men's fabric store. And it's just like, it's cool. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that the thing that happens is 3 weeks ahead. So whatever's going to happen is going to happen soon. So there's not like time for whatever he put there to like move. I had thought about that. I was just like, yeah, but in 5 years, you think that store is not going to change hands. But the fact that in 3 weeks is when everything goes to crap, I mean, that kind of makes sense then. So, hello to other people who are popping in, Blazer, TVD, Luby's World, R3, Myra, yo, y'all. I'm almost done with my notes. I had a bunch of them, and then I'm going to jump into the comments and we'll talk more. But, so let me see here. So I thought that was a good plan, honestly. That's how you do it in time travel. It's like, you're like, I'm going to leave this here, and then it'll be there in the future, which I dug that. I like messing with time travel and stuff like that. But they get there. Oh, that's the thing. So that's how they solve it, because they're running from the thing. So the creature that's at safe space is Macy in the future with fire powers and stuff. And it's like, oh, man. So and also when they get to the command center, the witch board has 2 witch signs, and then there's a third red one, which would mean demon. And that means Bad Macy is back. So she's there. She's got fire powers. That means that I guess maybe Abby at some point was able to return her demon powers to her. So that's pretty cool. However, this whole future is theoretical now at this point, because now they're going to go back into the past and solve it. So at this point, we don't know if that's actually going to happen, or if that's even the catalyst for it. What if she is the whispering evil? Like, what if Abby takes the demon part of Macy and tries to give it to Macy back, give it back to Macy, but then some of her own demon form goes over with it, and then now, Macy is like trying to kill people. I mean, it could be something like that. I'm just saying, nothing ever just goes smoothly when you're dealing with magic like this. Um, so there's a lot of different options there. I'm still not 100% convinced that she's going to get her demon powers back. I will say that more likely than not, she probably will. This is not the first time that they've mentioned it. Obviously, Abby said, "I'm going to try and figure out how to return what's yours." They've made a big deal about it. And now we're seeing that in the future, in this theoretical possible future, she did have her powers back. Not that it helped them. So, there's that. Like, I wonder if they would have said, like, Celeste, call Abigail back in the present and tell her, do not give Macy her fire powers back. And then if the Macy in the future then wouldn't have fire powers then at that point. Because it could also be that whoever the infected, the whispering evil is, that they are the ones who possibly gave the fire powers. Who even knows? Again, I think that out of the 3 storylines, 2 were unnecessary, and the third one I thought was pretty cool. Like them going to the future, I enjoyed the tension, I enjoyed the storyline, I enjoyed what they had to deal with and the revelations, and like there was a lot of good stuff here. The problem with the episode is that it kept getting undercut by jumping to Harry going me 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 me, and then and Mel going me, I guess. So, the 2 tangential little storylines were it was kind of annoying because it just kept taking away from the main story. Let me see what other things I have here. Oh, so while Macy's chasing Macy and Maggie, they call and they're like, we're being chased around safe space. And they're like, by what? And they're like, we'll tell you later. And it's just like, why? just say, like, why do you wait until later? Just say, oh, it's a super powerful demon version of me, so I need this right now. I think that would add more urgency to what it is. Like, don't say I'll tell you later. That's dumb. I mean, I understand the logic behind it. I don't want to tell you what it is. Then you go, what? And then it becomes a whole like other conversation. At the same time, now you're just making me think like it, I don't know, it must be really bad, but so many things. So then at the end, they're like, we're going to make a pact that we'll always make time for each other. And then Mel shows that she can touch Ruby and that she thinks that the baby is going to solve the allergy somehow and help them defeat the big bad. So I think that's cool. Celeste leaves and gives Harry his freedom and says, like, I'm here if you need me and don't bother me if you don't. She's definitely going to be dying soon. Again, I said it in the beginning. And Mel and Ruby kind of have an ending scene. It's kind of sweet, actually, where they're like, oh, it's great, and we're gonna be doing magic together, and it's great. I still don't see the chemistry myself, but I know a lot of people like a lot of you really like. You guys love that group. You guys stand that group or ship that couple. So it's nice, and I'm happy for all of the people who do like Ruby and Mel. I'm happy that you all get something out of this episode as well. They talk about a little bit about like how much of a surprise the baby is, which just reminds me, I was just watching the latest episode of Pause with Sam J. And she was talking about how with her and her partner, they've been talking about like, are they going to have kids? And she was like, I wish that as, a lesbian couple that we were able to just have it happen by accident. Like there's so much planning involved and stuff. So I found it interesting that right after I watched that episode of that show, bam, we have, this couple who's just like, just to suddenly have a baby. And it's just like, that's not typical for a couple that is 2 women, that usually there's planning involved with that. So like they're having to deal with something that like, that would never have happened without magic, obviously. I don't know. I just found it interesting. If you haven't watched Pause with Sam J, it's a fun show. It's on HBO Max. And then we end with a shot of the figure standing on the rooftop staring at the city, and you hear the noise of the infected. My guess for who the infected is, I think it's going to be Jimmy. I think that possibly the mind virus or something might have still been there, maybe taken hold. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But I feel like it's Jimmy because, again, like they do a lot of work to like hide people's identities if they don't want it to be somebody, if they don't want you to obviously know who it is. So, like, black clad in unisex clothes with wearing thick gloves and thick coats and stuff like that. So that would tell me that it's somebody that we probably already know. And they don't want us to already guess who it is. And then if that's the case, my guess would be Jimmy. Jimmy, for some reason, I don't know how or why, but and probably whatever's happening is also going to be like, oh, Harry has to double back on his becoming immortal now so that he can be the White Lighter and then be able to stop what's happening with Jimmy or something like that, and then finally put the Jimmy storyline to bed. Again, they're ending a lot of storylines this season. You can see that they're moving in that direction. If this is Jimmy as the big bad, then that would be the end of Jimmy. If they are, and Abigail definitely leaving this season. Jordan's already left. Celeste is definitely gonna die. So there's a lot of closure that I feel is coming, and that's where we're at right now. So that's my notes. So I'm gonna jump through the chat real quick and let's see what you guys are saying about this episode. I was just about to curse you out because I've been waiting for this since Friday. Sorry, Damien. No, seriously, some crazy stuff. This episode was so messy. Yeah, it was messy. But again, it's because they kept trying to undercut the tension and tried to make it like this could have been just, if they had just said, we're going to go into the future and we're just going to focus on the people who are in the future. And we might cut away maybe once, maybe twice for the other people, but their storylines weren't necessary. That's just my thought. Why wouldn't Celeste just put the watch somewhere easier to get to? Well, Celeste couldn't do it at all because Celeste is old and couldn't get anywhere in time. I believe safe space was right next to the mall, which was why they put the backup watch that would get them home. They put that in the mall, and that's not necessarily not safe to get to. Now, of course, her first thing was, we'll just go to the command center. It's probably the safest place ever. And they did that, and Macy was waiting for them. So there's reasons. And also there's a time crunch, right? So not only do you have to figure out some place that everybody knows where it is and everybody can communicate and easily tell stuff, but also there's a time crunch. So it has to be within, foot distance. Let's see. Mel finally got a good storyline. Hopefully the writers don't mess it up. I just want to know whose baby this is. Got a feeling it ain't Ruby. I think it's a magic baby. I think it's a magic baby, but I also, if you recall in the other future, that Ruby had, a child when they went to go visit Mel's grave. So that child, I think, is destined to happen one way or another, even though they stopped that future from happening, they believe. It's still, that baby still exists. So that baby was going to come up at some point. It was just a matter of when. So let's see. When did Ruby all of a sudden get into magic? Well, she's a witch. She knows lots of magic. She was choosing not to do magic. So it's different, right? It's not somebody who just suddenly knows about magic. She knows all about magic. Remember, that's how they met, is because they needed a witch's orb or something to like get into the command center, their marble or whatever. Because all of the witches who don't want to do magic anymore are given one of those. So that's why they met her. Far too many cuts in this episode. 100% agreed. To be honest, I like the feeling because it shows the danger if the future, but the silliness of the present, how we don't know what the future holds. So I kind of get it, but it doesn't mean it isn't messy. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. For me, it's all about what's important to the story. And it just felt like there was a lot of story potential there that was lost by cutting away to less important stories. So all of them are stories. There are some stories that are more important than other stories. Flashpoint, here we come. Exactly. I'll admit there was some tension and overall tone with these high stakes was pretty good if they would stop cutting. Yeah, exactly. The your power won't work is maybe because of the watch that they're using. I don't know. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting storytelling device, but we had a whole season of them not having powers, and that was probably the part people liked the least. So, stop trying to find reasons to take their powers away, I guess. Also, would plants have grown that much in 5 years? Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Because 5 years without anything stopping the plants. Also, magic's involved, so could be that there was the witches who could control. Maybe Josefina came and tried to defend with them and was making plants go all crazy. See, he wasn't thinking about that. See, I figured it out. I've cracked the code, the whole thing. Abby went down too quickly. I think that she went down quickly. I also thought that, but I think that she went down quickly because, again, you notice that she could teleport, but her teleporting looked slightly different. But also she was fighting, and this is what I'm saying. I think that if she gives Macy her demon powers back, I think it's probably going to steal some of her own power from her. So she probably didn't have the power to fight this new, not only powerful Macy with her demon powers restored, but also infected. So has those things going for her as well. So it's probably that she was just outmatched and probably weaker than she is currently. That's my own personal guess. Again, all theory. But a lot of the time, my theory ends up being correct. Not every time, but, cut me some slack. Abby would never go down without a fight, especially not throw away her weapon and beg for mercy. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, this was 5 years in the future, so it was definitely a different Abby from what we know in the present. We should have at least gotten a fight between them. Nah, I think if we're going to get a fight between Macy and Abigail, we would want it to be that Macy and Abigail that we know and love, because then there's more stakes. If it's a possible future Abigail versus a possible future Macy, so it doesn't actually matter who wins, then there's nothing there for us, right? Like, as viewers, the outcome of that doesn't matter. So why see that fight? That's just my thought. Let's see. She actually seemed relatively sober. I agree. She wasn't drunk. She was trying to get drunk. She wasn't there yet, though. Let's see. What if the baby that Mel has is kind of like when Piper had her baby, and there were like all the future vision of Wyatt turning evil, and that was the Perfecti warning. I mean, it could be. Could be. I mean, the Perfecti are gone now at this point, but they still have a tomb demon to deal with. And I think that's an important thing. Honestly, I would have liked it if there were more tomb demons, that maybe all the tomb demons that were left over, like, combined forces or whatever. I'm hoping that Ruby has some kind of magic addiction or something. That's an interesting storyline that I wouldn't want to waste on a side character. I think it would be my only point there. Because it could be cool, but I don't know. I think it would only make me mad, because if Ruby started, like, dealing with these things and the charmed ones came and they were, like, completely sympathetic and helpful to her, then I would be really pissed that they didn't treat Abigail that same way. Or the flip side of that, if Ruby does feel like that, and then they're just like, who cares? Just deal with it, Ruby. And then, like, that's how I see it, at least. I don't know. Again, I wouldn't use it on a side character. That's definitely main character. Like, it doesn't matter who, but somebody who is a main reoccurring character would need to be not Ruby. She's a side character. Let's see. A lot of twists and turns. I thought it was on edge, very horror-esque. Yeah, I agree. Finally made it to a live, maybe a bit late, but just had to feed my daughter. Well, welcome. And yeah, I mean, I'm late. It's Wednesday. You're not late. I'm late. I think the baby is a solution to defeat the Whispering Evil. Like, it has some sort of immunity to it or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it is. That's what we've learned at the end. I mean, there's got to be more to that, though. I mean, the fact that the baby cures the allergy means that the baby itself is linked to the tomb somehow, which would then makes me think that nothing linked to the tomb is good, so that makes me think that the baby could be evil. Whether or not it also gets rid of the allergy, like that's not evil or good. That's just gets rid of an allergy. So I think the baby. I think it again. I had said something about thinking about Jasmine from Angel in the last episode. That's kind of where my brain's going. It's probably not that, but that's where my brain's going. Let's see. So Macy got her fire powers back 5 years in the future, I guess she did. But yeah, like I said, it probably is going to happen in the next few episodes. But also, if I was them, I'd be like, I don't want to give fire powers to that thing. That thing is going around in the future, like murdering people. Like that would at least make it easier for us if she didn't have fire powers. If the baby can fight, be immune to the whispering evil, then why would Mel send it into the past to keep it safe? Well, because it's still a baby. Just because it doesn't mean that it's immune to the whispering evil. It just means that it gets rid of the allergy. That's not necessarily the same thing. It could also be that because it can get rid of the allergy, maybe it's the key to the tomb. Like, and then that means that the whispering evil wants that baby so that it can break open the tomb and like release all the other ones and then control them and all that. I mean, so like they never explained it though. It's just, hey, you have this baby. Why? It's like you got it. It's fine. So they didn't really explain anything. But now that we're learning a little bit more, I can come up with some theories. That would be my running theory right now. Don't ask me to repeat it. I probably won't remember it. Maybe the whispering evil was after the baby, and that's why Mel. Well, see, you just said what I said. I swear I didn't read ahead. If Macy gets her dark powers back, she won't be able to use the Book of Elders anymore. In season 2, she couldn't touch the book. That's true. However, that book is gone now, and they have their own Book of Shadows. So their new Book of Shadows, I don't think it possibly has those same protection spells on it. So I think they're probably going to be okay. Let's see. Yes, Jimmy is coming back. It's just my guess. That's my guess. Baggy clothes, gloves, no sign of skin, hand shape, anything like that. That's because they don't want to give it away. Because if it was a new character, they would just show that character and we'd be like, who's that? But in this case, they showed you like part of a person who was fully clothed and completely concealed. That tells me that it's somebody we've already encountered before. Jordan is coming back next episode. Is he now? Could be Jordan. Could have something to do with his curse. Could have something to do. I don't know. Who even knows? Who knows? If Jordan is coming back, then it's not going to be for. It's not. I don't think it's going to be for the reasons that we think. I doubt that he's the bad guy. I hope that he's not the bad guy. Because there's zero reason for him to be the bad guy unless something happened while he was out on his sabbatical. Let's see. But they could teleport to the mansion and leave the watch there. Yeah, but the mansion and safe space aren't close. That's why they're constantly teleporting from those two places. So without any powers, and they couldn't teleport in the future, them getting to the house, them getting to the house was probably not going to happen, not in time at least. What if future Macy, the bad we see, poisons our good Macy? How? I don't think I understand that. I love how once again the charmed ones have accidentally doomed the world. It wasn't an accident, really. It was this is all part of that same initial accident of releasing the demons. This is just a demon that was probably scared of the Perfecti. But now that the Perfecti are gone, he's like, oh, I can just destroy the world then and take it over. With the Perfecti there, it wasn't going to make a move. It was just laying in wait, most likely. Let's see. Also, I wish they would develop the relationship between Ruby and Mel more. It just feels like Ruby is way more invested than Mel. I'd agree with that a little bit, but that's just because I don't see the chemistry anyway. But I think they're doing an okay job with that. But also, like, a lot of this episode was, Mel having a lot of like pregnancy reactions, like snappy and defensive and stuff like that. So it seems like she's not invested, but she really is invested. And not everybody shows their emotions the same way. So there's that as well. Maybe the baby is more powerful than the charmed ones. I mean, possibly. possibly not. So, no, they still have the Book of Elders. I'm certain that was what Celeste was looking through. Oh, oh, okay. So, Book of Shadows and Book of Elders are two different things. So, the Book of Shadows is gone. Book of Elders, was that the one that she couldn't touch? Anyway, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure that they could just call Celeste up and be like, "Hey, Celeste, can you remove the protections on this book?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, I can totally do that. I'll do that." And then, oh no, that killed me, dead. That's what I see happening. uh, I don't like how Mel just assumed that the baby was the cure for the allergy. Well, I don't think that it's an assumption if you had the allergy and then you got a future baby in you and then all of a sudden you no longer have the allergy. That would tell me that it at least is a part of it. So I don't think it's too big a leap to say that it's, even if it's not the cure for it, it's something. Like it has something to do with it. Is Charmed on Netflix? I believe seasons 1 and 2 are. I don't know if, I doubt 3 is because it's still on. I watch it on the CW app. It is free, but there's tons of commercials. Hey, Maria. I am here at the tail end, as I said in my review. Haha, everybody go watch hers. They could have literally put the watch part on the table in the attic where Macy and Maggie were sitting, and it would have taken 0.3 seconds. Wait. Oh no, you're right. Well, yes and no, I would say. Because you're right. They at the command center had access to the marbles and stuff. Yeah, they could have. There you go. But that would have removed, honestly, I felt the tension in the running away from Macy and all that stuff. So I will give them the pass in the logic, because here's the thing. Celeste is feeling her age, so she's getting older and getting a little bit forgetful and all of that stuff. So maybe she's not even in her right mind. Harry then at that point, he also lost a lot of his mind. So he's like stuck in a younger thing. So he's not going to think of like the super logical thing to do. Both Macy and Maggie, they're in their fight or flight response, which honestly, if you know anything about the fight or flight response, when you're in that state, it immediately removes a lot of your logical brain. So I could see a reason why everybody in that situation did not think to do that. Honestly, I didn't even think to do that while I was watching it. So, and I wasn't in the situation. So I take your point. Yes, they could have done that. But I also understand why possibly they didn't think to do that. So why didn't they just take it somewhere easier where future Macy wasn't? Well, there's that. But where future Macy wasn't, future Macy was wherever they were, though. So that's the thing. It's just like wherever they were running, future Macy was gonna be there because they had no powers. They couldn't do anything except run, and Macy was chasing them. So they could put it wherever. I mean, they could be like, "I'm gonna put it over here," and Macy's not there, but Macy is gonna follow them. So maybe I don't understand that, but it doesn't make sense to me. What if the Whispering Evil hitchhiked a ride onto Jordan to get out of the tomb? That is why the Perfecti hadn't had a chance to put it back into the tomb yet. Well, I mean, no, but they even mentioned that there's a few different demons that weren't sealed away before the Perfecti were. So we already know that they are out there. That doesn't necessarily mean that Jordan had to hitchhike on Jordan, because there's already ones out there. So I would say probably not. I think if Jordan's coming back, then Jordan's going to be involved in some other way, I think. The Book of Shadows was restarted by Josefina. Exactly. That's what I had said before. Maybe the Whispering Evil did indeed get out through either Jordan or something else, or it was already out. Again, that's my thought. I'm being so nice to the writers. Hey, I called them out on a lot of stuff. The script was sloppy and it cut a lot of the tension because they kept cutting back to silliness instead of focusing on the main story. So I did say that stuff. Honestly, though, I thought that this episode was pretty well executed, except for that part. Otherwise, I can think of reasons. There's always reasons. There's always reasons. But I still think Jimmy because of the mind virus he had. Well, he did have the mind virus. Well, here's the thing, right? So he had the mind virus. And then magic ceased to exist. So that's when the mind virus stopped working. So everybody's like, oh, okay, well then there is no mind virus, and that's why the mind virus hasn't been the storyline for this whole season. Like me and people like me and Maria kind of thought. We were like, if there's a mind virus out there, then it's definitely the next storyline. But that was gotten rid of when all of magic ceased to exist. Now, when magic got back into existence, did that also stop the mind virus from existing, or did it just pop back into existence? Who knows? Because when you're talking about forbidden spells, you never know how it's going to respond to things like that. My guess is that it's not the mind virus itself, but maybe something like that, because it did say, Abby said that like it gets into your mind and then it starts to expose all the worst parts of you and all of that stuff. So that's actually, so a lot of people were saying like, if I was Abigail, I wouldn't have left I wouldn't have dropped my weapon and begged for mercy. Well, that would be the worst part of Abigail, would be the intense fear that she really does feel inside, and probably a lot for Macy. So I understand that, right? Because if it gets into your mind, it makes you fall into your worst traits, and fear is a pretty bad trait. So with that said, maybe Jimmy, so here's my whole backstory that I'm now making up. Jimmy was really happy with the mind virus, right? Okay. He was happy that happened. Then magic ceased existing and it destroyed the mind virus, thus bringing him back to reality and destroying the life that he thought he had built for himself. So maybe this whole season, he in the background has been trying to figure out a way to recreate the mind virus, and thus created the Whispering Evil as a result. I literally just came up with that right now. And if that ends up being true, I will pat myself on the back heavily. Because honestly, that right there makes a lot of sense. And it would make sense why he was waiting for the Perfecti to be gone. Because if I was Jimmy coming back with a mind virus, I'm gonna wait until those buttheads are gone. My only issue was parting with the watch part in the mall store, was that in the years coming, anyone could have found it. Plus, what kind of crappy construction was that wall made of? Okay, so I will hit both of those points, and I did mention one of them earlier. So one, yeah, right? The grout in between the bricks, like what? That was nothing. It was chipped away way too fast. But the second one is, remember that whatever's gonna happen, it's gonna happen in 3 weeks. Notice that we have 3 more episodes left, by the way. So whatever's going to happen that's going to make this the Whispering Evil hit the whole world and destroy the world is going to happen in 3 weeks. So putting it there, and then yes, no one's going to find it in the next 3 weeks, and then the world ends, and then 5 years later, then they find it. So no one would have found it if it was inside. First off, no one would have found it if it was inside the wall. Like they didn't just like put it on a counter or something. He put it inside the wall. Very seldom, unless they're tearing down the building or whatever, are they going to mess with the walls. Or if they're going to like combine, like if you want 2 spaces, they might knock down a wall so you have both spaces for a bigger store or whatever in a mall. But remember, the end of the world happens in 3 weeks. So he can put it there, and the end of the world happens, and then no one's going to find it because there's no one around anymore. It's the end of the world. So there's that. We need better writers. Honestly, I think that the writing has gotten way better in the last few episodes. I have very much enjoyed the last few episodes. So I'm hoping that we continue on this stride. And honestly, my biggest gripe with the writers of Charmed is that they introduce things but then don't follow up on them. Not that the things that they're introducing are necessarily bad. They're just not followed up on or elaborated on or executed all that well all the time. But if they, I like what they've been doing, at least with the last few episodes. I don't care what anybody says. The writers better be taking notes from you. Hopefully they are. Hopefully I'm guessing what they're doing. So there's that. Let's see. Abigail doesn't have the ability to teleport. Have you seen her teleporting before? Yeah, she teleports all the time. She definitely does have the power to teleport. She can only teleport herself. If you recall the episode where it was her and Mel, and she was trying to get out of her loft, her apartment, her demon apartment, and she was just like, "Well, I can leave." She's like, "But I can't bring you." So then she had to stay with Mel so that she didn't leave her behind. So there's that. What happened to the trans guy? Maybe it's him. Like there's zero reason for us to believe that it's Kevin. And honestly, they did exactly what I was hoping they were not going to do with Kevin, which was they introduced Kevin as a trans character and a trans, and then they do a trans side thing, and then the trans guy's gone because it's trans, and then we're not talking about trans anymore because trans. So I actually really liked the potential of the Kevin character. And like I said, like they introduced Kevin and then they were just like trans. And then they're like, we're done talking about trans. So he's gone. They were like, well, no, he can't be on the same show with Josefina. We can't have more than one trans person. We're not allowed to do that. Oh my God, a show with more than one trans person. What would they have even done? Whew, that would have been crazy. So let's see. Yes, Abigail can teleport. Yeah, exactly. I do not like the writers. Haha, care about me, Aloy. I do care about you. I also like the writers. I don't think that they do a bad job. But as a writer and a screenwriter and all that stuff, like it's my job to kind of be like, this is how I would have done it. I mean, I guess we could say we could be like, who's the better writer? The guy who has the YouTube channel and critiques other people's writing, or the person writing on like on a popular show that gets ratings and stuff. I have not written for a show, so I don't know the demands and all that stuff. I'm just writing how I would have written it. So I don't know. That's just me. I try not to be too harsh, but at the same time, I feel like if I have I have this channel, so I can give my commentary. I didn't like the vanquishing line. I agree. I don't like that Kevin kind of came in and trans, and then he left. And then I didn't like the cutting away to the silliness in this episode. And, but I thought this episode was good, let me see. They had to put the watch part somewhere that wouldn't have been touched in 5 years. They could have put it on the table in the attic. Well, maybe. So here's the thing. So I think that they could have possibly just put it in the attic. However, if you listen to Abigail, they also said that the manor, the Vera Manor, is like the last bastion of society, of their like holdout and all that stuff. So like it's definitely not a safe place to put something that you think is just going to stay in one place for the next 5 years, because Abigail literally said that like that's the central headquarters. Everybody who is still alive and fighting is there. So there's probably lots of foot traffic, lots of people moving things and building things and doing potions and all that stuff. And it definitely could have gotten lost in the chaos that is there. I'm just saying that would be a reason why. So I think that could have been why Abigail mentioned the manor. The manor is not the place to go if you want something that you put on a table and it just stays there for 5 years, because it is very busy there. As they are there, a lot of the fight is happening there. So that's like the front lines. You're not going to hide something on the front lines of a war. So there's that. And I appreciate that, Maria, that you think my script would have been good. I like the idea, honestly. That again, I just came up with it. I like the Jimmy idea. I think that's what it is. They could have put it somewhere in the attic that could have survived an apocalypse. Yes, but it's not about just surviving the apocalypse. It's all of that. They could have, when they put it in the store, he marked the brick and they instantly saw it. They were sitting there and it was literally like in real time. Yeah, but that's like the Back to the Future thing. Like technically they would have walked in and they would have seen it because he had already done it. I think that was just kind of having fun with the script. And I think that was not necessarily, that was just kind of having fun with time travel stuff, but not necessarily the way that it happened. if he put the X there, then he would have always put the X there, which meant that there would have been an X there before they asked, is where do I go as well? So that's the way the time travel works. But they're kind of telling us that the Back to the Future type of time travel is what works in this universe. It is not the MCU type, because in the MCU they were walked in and there would have been an X there because and so here's the thing. So if it was MCU style, which is things that have happened have just always happened, then they would have walked in and they would have said, so is it this brick with the X on it? This is the one it's behind. And he goes, I haven't put an X on the brick. Let me put one real quick. And then that will tell, then it will have happened in the future. So it's again, it just kind of tells you the time travel rules that we have here. The future in the Charmed universe is very malleable. Anything that happens in the present can instantly change the future. And that's what that is telling us. As opposed to the way that the MCU works, which is it doesn't really matter what you do. Nothing you do matters. Let me see, what were you saying, Maria? I mean, the research she had was still there. Yeah, the research was there, which is good. I don't know. Let's see. I said they could have put it on the table. I agree with you. It wasn't safe. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a whole thing. Kind of wish Kevin was given something better. Yes, definitely. So then Abby should not have died in the future. She died protecting the past versions of them. LOL. Well, she didn't die. Like, she died in the future, but the future is malleable, so it didn't happen. So this was something that somebody else brought up earlier in the stream, is that they said we should have had an epic fight between future Macy and future Abigail, and I'm like, but that's the outcome of such a fight would have no bearing on anything. So, it would have been a theoretical possible future Macy fighting a possible theoretical future Abigail. And whoever won, it didn't matter because you're going to go back to the past and change the future anyway. So screenwriting is difficult, and they are still writing and acting now as we watch the episodes. Exactly. So, maybe they watch these. Probably not. I only get a few hundred views on these. I just enjoy doing them. If the Charmed writers watch these and they like any of my ideas, feel free to steal them. Because if I say something as a theory and you steal it and make it part of the show, it makes me look like I'm right. So do that, Charmed writers. But I doubt that they actually watch my channel. I'm if anything, they go watch Maria's, because Maria has a bigger channel than I do. Anyway, we have hit an hour and I have to go pick up my son from school. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. Thank you for hanging out with me for a whole hour. I was done with the actual review in about 20 minutes, and literally we've been here for 40 minutes just hypothesizing and going kind of crazy. So I really, really enjoy doing these with you. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Thank you, Maria, for popping out. Go check out Approach the Nerd if you haven't. If you watch this channel, you know who Approach the Nerd is. But oh my God, thank you guys so much. I love all you guys. I've been your host, Aloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up. I'm going to be sooner with the next one, hopefully.